Now that I've played through Shadow of the Erdtree 3 times, I think it's time for the tier list. So let's do it. This DLC was actually incredible. Like, it was some peak FromSoft. I had a really good time with it. Enough that I've played it twice by myself and I'm playing through it co-op with some friends. And in the spirit of making more content for this channel, what better way than pumping out a tier list, right? Anyways, consider liking and subscribing because it would help me out a whole lot. Now let's make this tier list. I'm just gonna go in the order that they're presented here because the best thing about making tier list content is you don't have to make the template. People just make it for you. All right, Ancient Dragon Man. This dude's like on the way to Bale before the mountain and all that. He's pretty cool. It's like the introduction to the dragon form. It's like, hey, the dragon form's back, guys. And he has this sweet katana, which I ended up using against Bale. But he is also just like an NPC drone fight. So for now, I'm gonna put him in C. Ancient Dragon Senesax. Okay, this is like a juiced up version of like Lanasax, or I can't remember the other one's name from the base game. But this fight was a spectacle, but also really hard and kind of BS. In his second phase, like every other boss in this DLC has, I think it was his second phase at least, he just starts like shooting lightning all over the place. On top of having massive hitboxes accompanied with the classic FromSoft camera jank. But you know, all of that aside, it is still a cool fight. The spectacle itself, I'll put it at B, because it is also like a reused boss. I was like deliberating between A and B, I was not sure. Okay, now Bale. This is easy S. Like, come on, it's Midir 2. New Elden Ring Midir. This dude's awesome. This is like, Bale is like the peak of spectacle fights in this DLC. He's so cool. It's a good challenge, but not entirely BS. The camera does get pretty jank just because it's a giant boss. But I mean, it's a really awesome fight. Bale's one of my favorites. Okay, we got the 2 Black Knights. This is the dude with the twin blade. He's in one of the forts, I don't remember which one. But I remember he will just spam like 10-hit combos at you with his twin blade, and that's basically it. But honestly, it's basically another NPC fight. So it's going in C. And Black Knight Geru, I don't know how to say that. This dude is a little more funny. He will just lick you when he feels like it. But you know what? It's literally another Black Knight, so look where he's going. Now the Black Jail Knight. The Black Jail Knight is the first boss that I fought in the DLC. I think it's a lot of people's first bosses because he's like right there. And I think, although it is an NPC fight, it's a good introduction to the DLC, as well as you get his entire armor set and weapon. So just based on that, I'll put him in B. Okay, if I'm putting this guy in B, I can't have him in the same tier as Senesax. That's not right. We're just gonna adjust that for now. Chief Bloodfiend, this is like I mean, the Bloodfiends are pretty cool, but like Chief Bloodfiend was just a big Bloodfiend. It was kind of lame. So that's gonna be a C. Commander Gaius was cool. I fought him before they fixed his spawn point, so his charge was really fucking annoying, but it's a good fight. I'm pretty sure I used the Great Katana with like that flame thrust move, and I had a good time with the fight. It was like a really good challenge. I'll put it in A. You know what? I think I'm gonna have to do this. Just because like, these fights aren't even close to on par with these. I need there to be like a tier of separation. And speaking of which, this is perfect because Count Emir, this fight kind of blows, but it's really unique. Like, it's the end of this dude's quest line. You kill the Motherfinger, and he's like, hey, that's not cool. Even though he led you to killing the Motherfinger, it was kind of weird. But he just turns into a mage that runs away from you the entire time. And if I remember, you have to fight the Dark Knight chick before you fight him. But either way, that fight kind of sucks. Like, you're just chasing him around the whole time. The Curse Blade Labyrinth. Curse Blade Labyrinth. Okay, these enemies, actually, this was the first enemy I found in the DLC. The dude just jumped me, and it set a standard for the DLC that, I feel like it almost set a bad standard, to be honest, because this dude is really hard. And then after him, you'll just find like little drones walking around in the field. But I mean, it's a cool enemy, but also reusing it as a boss is kind of lame. So I'm gonna put it in D. The Dancer of Rana, She was pretty cool. It's another NPC fight, but you get her set and her weapons. Her weapons are cool. I think it's a fun fight just because you get to parry her pretty easily. So for that, she's gonna go in C. Okay, Death Knight version 1. I'm pretty sure this is the one with the twin axes. Both of the Death Knights are super cool. Like, I'll just say that now. But the only thing about them is I really wish we could get their capes. I'm pretty sure you can find their armor sets, but the cape isn't the same. It doesn't have that same like ethereal death look to it, and it should. Miyazaki fumbled that. But the fights themselves are really cool. They're like, you feel like you're fighting a Death Knight, and that's awesome. So for that, I'm putting them both in A. They have really cool weapons too. The twin axes, although dual axes kind of suck, the weapon art's really cool, but the great axe is awesome. I'm a huge great axe fan, and the Ash of War on it's awesome. Okay, the Deathrite Bird buffed. Is it? I think this is the one that has like ads around it. And honestly, I'm not a fan of reusing base game bosses. It was already in the base game, like it should have stayed in the base game, you know? So for that reason, I'm putting it in C. And speak of the devil, Demi-human Queen Mariga. These fights are cool, but I swear every time I run into them, I'm like way too overpowered to fight them. Like they'll just die in a couple hits or they'll stagger immediately. So I never even get to experience the full fight. The placement of them is really weird, I feel like. But what I have experienced, it is a cool fight, but it is a base game enemy. So I'm throwing it in C. Okay, Demi-human Swordmaster Anza. This dude is a little badass. I know everyone calls him Yoda, and it makes sense. Like, he's just flailing around with his little space sword. It makes sense. But he does these like anime-ass moves just flailing at you. And he casts magic and stuff. It's cool to have them take a demi-human and turn it into a badass instead of like a little grunt. So I think it's like a B. Man, now I'm contemplating shifting all these down again, because like Ans is not as good as Emir, but Emir isn't as bad as all of these. I'll leave it like that for now. Divine Beast Dancing Lion. This I think is a ton of, if not most people's first remembrance boss. And this boss is awesome. The first time I saw the cutscene, I was like a little bit afraid of it. Like, it's such a menace. It looks incredibly just creepy and menacing with the glowing eyes and like the puppet head and shit. And the fight itself is really cool. Like, he has a fairly basic moveset, but the structure of the enemy makes it feel more intricate than it actually is. And then, like every other boss in this DLC, he goes into phase 2 at like 3/4 of his health left, and he starts using elements. Like, he starts using lightning, he throws lightning bolts at you, he can do wind shit and frost shit. It's really cool. I really like this fight. It feels like an unexpected design from FromSoft, but like it's a really good one. And I'm gonna put it in S. I don't know why this says the Falling Star Beast is buffed, because this dude was a little pushover. Okay, he's like in that hidden area next to Gaius, where the shaman village is and shit. But like, it's a Falling Star Beast. Like, just get in C tier, bro. That's where you belong. Okay, Furnace Golems. Fuck Furnace Golems. These suck. These feel like they were going to serve a way bigger purpose in the DLC from like the one trailer I saw. And like, yeah, the design is really cool, but the fight is god awful. It's just a slog of punching them in the ankles until they crumple 3 times, and you have to do that twice. Like, these guys suck. It's an E tier. It's probably the worst fight. I don't think the game even considers them a boss, but like, I mean, they're garbage. And there's like 10 of them. These guys suck. Okay, Ghost Flame Dragons. Honestly, even though I've been following the logic of like, oh, it's base game, so it's ass, or C tier, the Ghost Flame Dragons were pretty cool. Like, yeah, they took the normal dragons, gave them a little redesign, a little makeup, but they did give them some new moves. And I think those new moves made it into like a much more interesting fight. So let's say this is the one that you fight in the lake in the first area. This one's pretty cool. I'm gonna put that in B tier. And then let's say this one is the one in the Cerulean Coast that summons ads. This one is kind of a bastard, because he did not need to summon a bunch of ads for us to deal with. So he's gonna go in C tier. The Golden Hippo, I walked into the boss room and I felt like I was playing a mod. Like it was a modded boss. It did not feel like an Elden Ring design or a FromSoft design even. It felt so like random for it to be there. Just a big ass hippo. But the fight itself is pretty good. I definitely had to like learn the moveset and just clutch up and beat his ass. And then in phase 2, he turns into a porcupine for some reason, which, sure. But the fight overall is good. Like, I liked it a lot. I'll put it in A. Jagged Peak Drake. I don't remember if this is even a boss. Oh, actually it is. It's before. It's like in the intro to the Bale area. But, see, this guy is actually just like a reused base game boss. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it gave them the new moves. And the dragons in the base game are kind of eh. So we'll put him like in the bottom of C. This isn't ordered, but just know he's in the bottom of C. The Lamenter. This fight is weird, but like it's quirky enough that I feel like it's good. Like it has the gimmick of he spawns a bunch of copies of himself, and if you don't kill them all, each one like left behind places a stack on you. And I think if you get to 8 stacks, you just insta die. It's a pretty unique fight. I liked it overall. It's definitely gimmicky, but like it's pretty cool. I would put it in B, like top of B. Okay, Mesmer the Impaler. This dude is like the poster boy for the DLC, which I thought was kind of weird. Like, because he's kind of just a mid-game boss you can fight super early, but obviously he's really lore relevant, so it kind of makes sense. But I mean, it's a really cool fight. The dude has a flame spear and fire magic, and he just wails on you relentlessly. It's a tough fight, but weirdly enough, in my first playthrough, I first tried him, and then in my second playthrough, I like really struggled on him. It was rough. But like his design is cool. His phase 1, I think his phase 1 is harder than his phase 2, but his phase 2 is way more of a spectacle. Like it's a really cool fight. But yeah, to me, I think Mesmer is another top tier fight. Like that's a pretty easy S from me. It's a really awesome fight. But we're getting to a bunch of good ones. Damn, we had like all the stinkers first. We're on the good ones now, for the most part. Anyways, I shouldn't be looking ahead. Okay, Metyr, Mother of Fingers. I gotta say, first of all, the quest for this fight kind of stinks. Because you know those giant ass areas with all the fingers like protruding out of the ground? And you expect there to be like a boss or a cave or something cool in there, and it's literally nothing but those statues that you blow into. Those areas suck. So I associate that boss to those areas a little bit. But the actual fight itself is really cool. Metyr's design is like disgusting, but also really cool. It's just an amalgam of fingers just lumped together that does this crazy space magic, because it's an outer god or something like that. And the arena is super cool. It's really similar to Renala's. You're just in a void, but this one has a bunch of fingers in it. I'd say I like it a lot, but it's not like top tier for me. So I would give it like top of A. Midra is an easy top tier. Midra feels like a Dark Souls 3 fight, but the best thing about him is that, you know that like deflect tier that you get from the first Furnace Golem in the first area? I used the deflect tier and fought him with that in my first playthrough, and that fight is incredible. I really like that fight. It's a spectacle. His moves aren't BS, except for the laser beam. That's BS, but his design is awesome. Like really, really cool. His cutscene is disgusting also, but I really like Midra. He's one of my top 3 bosses for sure. In fact, I'm gonna put him up here. Top of S. I love this fight. Putrescent Knight is like, it's a good fight, but when you like jump off of that thing down into the arena literally feels like Medir's arena from DS3. And then this dude just runs around the corner, this little tiny ass dude on his horse. So I feel like the arena set expectations that weren't met, but the actual fight is really cool and the boss design is really cool. It doesn't have too much BS. It just has like wacky movements to it that you have to adjust to, but the actual fight's cool. And his weapon that you get from his remembrance is really cool. It has an awesome Ash of War. I'm gonna put him like here or in A. It's a good fight. Okay, the monster himself, Radahn, consort of Mikola. This fight is it's kind of like divisive to me in that I personally do not like that they reused a base game entity as the final boss of the DLC, but it is cool to fight like Prime Radahn, because the Radahn we fought in base game was like riddled with scarlet rot and like a bum. But this is like peak Radahn in Mohg's body. So it's cool in theory, but also it's kind of lame to refight Radahn. The fight itself is really hard. Easily the hardest fight in the DLC. Possibly the hardest fight FromSoft ever made. It took me like roughly 5 hours worth of attempts across different sessions to finally beat him. And I beat him with the backhand blades, by the way. The phase 1 is already pretty hard. He's just like flailing his swords around. You gotta learn the patterns. He'll do like 3 to 7 hit combos or something. It's like a good classic Souls fight, I suppose. But then phase 2, he does the same shit and then cast like holy laser beams behind you every time he swings. And he has shadow clones that he'll just throw at you, and it's insane. He does a lot of weird shit that you have to adjust to, and it's hard to adjust to stuff like that when it starts happening in phase 2. But that's kind of a FromSoft classic, to be honest. And he definitely has some knowledge check moves, like you really have to figure out what to do against them. Like you will just get hit by them the first time you see them type of moves. And those are never really fun, but it's still like, it was an incredible fight. It's a spectacle. The design is cool. The theory of it is cool. So like, it's still an easy S. Despite the negatives, it's a pretty easy S. Okay, now that we talked about the peak of the DLC, the peak form, the alpha male, we're going to talk about Ravla, the great red bear, or the true alpha male. You remember the rune bears? The rune bear boss from the base game? This is them, but better. But better, bigger, and stronger. And they each have like a bear spell. I don't remember which one has which though. But these fights are pretty cool. It is a reused base game boss for the most part, but they did amp it up and give it some stuff. So for that reason, I would give it a B. The rune bears are like terrifying. They go crazy. They're aggro as fuck. Speaking of bears, we got the red bear jail fight. This guy is a pain in the ass. For some reason, all of these ghost entities have like insane hyper armor on their shit. And this dude uses the beast claws. So he's just like flailing at you, and it's really hard to stun him out of it unless you're using like a colossal weapon. It is a pretty cool fight. The guy's fun to try and parry, although a lot of his moves put him into the air so you can't parry them. And you do get his gear for beating him. But I would say this is the weakest of the jail bosses. I would put him somewhere like down here, below these ones at least. Man, tier lists actually take a while to make when you actually like talk about this shit. I'm not used to talking like this. Okay, R'hllana. R'hllana is awesome. This is one of my favorite bosses, hands down. She's top 3 for me. When I first fought her, I used the deflect here again, and I basically fought her like I was playing Sekiro with a great sword, by the way. And it made the fight incredible. Like, instead of dodging her crazy 10-hit combos, I was just parrying them like Sekiro. So it made the fight incredible. And her design is really cool too. It's Rinaldo's sister, but she's actually like a battle mage. And I think she's a really good, it's a really good example of what a battle mage should be. Like, she casts spells to get in and to start wailing on you. It's not to run away. I really like R'hllana's fight. I actually used her swords for a lot of my base game playthrough. After I beat her, I used it for like a lot of my playthrough. And her armor set. I really like this boss. It's like, it's somewhere up here. I don't know if I would say she's my favorite, but you know what? I'm gonna say she's my favorite. I really like R'hllana. Romina, Saint of the Bud. This boss really feels like a Dark Souls 3 boss for some reason. It was in a really like weird area. Like, you're in those Rao ruins and all of a sudden there's Scarlet Rot, and then there's this boss. It felt pretty out of place, I would say. But the boss design is pretty cool. It's like a classic FromSoft. There's a girl and then there's insect below her type of boss. And the fight is good. It's a really like Dark Souls 3 fight. Her moves aren't too intricate or hard to dodge. You just have to be consistent enough. Overall, it's a good design, a good fight. I liked it. I don't think it's like incredible, but I would put it up around like top of A. And Rugalia is the other great red bear. I'm gonna put him with Ravla because, yeah, they're cool, but they're not that cool. Skidoo Tree Avatar or Shadow Tree? Sorry, Vadi. Oh god. You know, after they said, after people realized that Skidoo is like Latin for shadow or something, and everyone started saying Shadow Tree, I just can't. Skidoo Tree just sounds better now. as stupid as the word sounds. Skidoo Tree, just clear Shadow Tree, let's be honest. Anyways, Skidoo Tree Avatar. Skidoo Tree Avatar is... I like the Skidoo Tree Avatar a lot. It's like another really spectacle kind of fight. The arena's awesome. You're like at the base of the Shadow Tree, surrounded by a bunch of dead roots or something. And you're fighting its one avatar that we know of. And it has the cool, like a cool gimmick of the first time you kill it, you think you beat it, and then it suddenly comes back. And then it does it again, but it gets progressively weaker. And I think it's a cool idea that, like, yeah, it gets new moves, but overall, like, each phase, it's actually weaker, which I'm not sure they've ever done before, but I think that's a cool idea. And the actual fight itself is pretty good. It's like, its moves aren't too crazy. It has the Vort charge, and it's slow enough on its recovery that it's easy to punish by like smacking it in the face. Overall, I really like the fight. I would give it like top of A. Man, we just went through like all of the really good remembrance bosses, and now there's like 3 stinkers left. But you know what, we're gonna end strong. Tree Sentinel X2 buffed. I'm pretty sure this is talking about the 2 tree sentinels in the hinterlands by the shaman village, but like it's 2 tree sentinels. I think everyone was going to the hinterlands expecting there to be some crazy super boss, or at least something more than what there was, and there was just 2 tree sentinels and a falling star beast. Like, honestly, that area was really disappointing. There was like nothing good there. It was like a lore area, but I think they should have made it a lore area and a super boss area. But yeah, honestly, this being so disappointing, I would put it in D. Rakshasa is the last jail fight, the jail knight fight, and he's kind of an asshole. Like, this dude has hyper armor on everything he does. Everyone else does, as I said before, but his is ridiculous. Like, he's really hard to punish. I had to resort to just parrying him to beat this guy. But his weapon is cool. I really like the great katanas. I'm a big Odachi fan. And his armor set's cool. I'd put him in C with the other ones, like below these 2, but above Red Bear. And our last, but actually least, Jory Elder Inquisitor. This dude is the gatekeeper to the abyss, and this dude sucks. This boss is so annoying. He just runs away and casts spells at you and summons ads for you to like just try to avoid, because they just despawn after a while. This fight is actually a stinker. It's like easily one of the worst in the DLC. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all, to be honest. Like, it's a pretty easy D tier. And yeah, that's my Shadow of the Erdtree bosses tier list. Let me know what you think, what you would change, what I did wrong. Let me know. And if you somehow watched this entire video, comment your favorite boss down below, because I'm curious what you guys think. And consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, because it helped me out a lot. Alright, see ya.